I never mentioned the $2, $3 million I kept from my late husband's company. But when my daughter-in-law invited me to her charity dinner, the one she said I'd only embarrass, I dressed simply and smiled. The moment I stepped inside, her sponsor froze. Before we continue, comment where you're watching from and subscribe to the channel. We'd love to see how far our stories are reaching. That happened 3 months ago. Let me back up. My name is Dorothy Chen. I'm 66 years old, and I'm sending this story because you always ask for real accounts from listeners. This happened to me between October 2022 and June 2023 in San Francisco. Everything I'm about to tell you is true, even the parts that sound impossible. It started on a Tuesday afternoon in October. I was sitting in my living room in Pacific Heights, the Victorian house Thomas and I bought in 1985 when we founded Chen Industries. The jasmine in the garden was blooming late that year. I remember because the scent came through the window, and for a moment I forgot that Thomas had been gone for 2 years. My phone buzzed. A text from Amber, my daughter-in-law. "Dorothy, Kevin and I are coming over. We need to talk about your future. Don't make plans for dinner." Not, "Hi, Mom." Not, "Is this a good time?" Just a command. That should have been my first warning. They arrived at 6:01 p.m. sharp. Amber was wearing one of those tight designer dresses that cost more than my monthly pension. Her phone already in her hand, filming. Kevin looked tired, thinner than I remembered. He worked in sales for a tech startup. Long hours, constantly stressed about quotas. "Dorothy, sit down," Amber said, not even greeting me. She never called me Mom. Never even Dorothy with warmth. Just Dorothy. Flat and cold, like I was her accountant. I sat. Kevin wouldn't look at me. "We've been talking," Amber continued, perching on the arm of my sofa like she owned it. "This house is too big for you. You're alone, you're getting older, and honestly, you can barely handle the maintenance. We think you should sell." The house was worth $850,000. I knew because I'd had it appraised 6 months earlier, just to understand where I stood. "I'm not selling," I said quietly. Amber's eyes flashed. "Dorothy, be reasonable. You don't need all this space. You could move into a nice little apartment, something manageable. And Kevin and I, well, we're drowning here. We have $180,000 in debt. The wedding alone. The wedding you insisted on having at the Ritz for $65,000? I asked. My voice was still calm. 20 years of marriage to Thomas taught me to stay calm when people tried to bully me. "That's not fair," Kevin finally spoke. His voice was weak. "Mom, we're family. We're asking for help. You're asking me to sell my home so you can pay for your mistakes." Amber stood up abruptly. "Your mistakes? Dorothy, you've made plenty. Like hoarding money while your own son suffers. Do you know we're 3 months behind on rent? Do you even care?" Something inside me cracked. "I gave you $15,000 last Christmas. Where did it go?" Amber's face went red. She pointed her phone at me, and I realized she was live streaming. To her 55,000 Instagram followers. "Guys, look at my mother-in-law here," she said in that fake sweet influencer voice. "She thinks she understands finances, but she can barely use Venmo. Total dead weight in this family. She's sitting in $1 million house while we can't even afford groceries." I stared at her, at the phone, at Kevin, who was looking at the floor. "Get out of my house," I whispered. "What?" Amber laughed. "Dorothy, we're trying to help you. Get out!" I stood up, shaking. "Both of you. Now." They left. Amber was still recording, narrating about ungrateful elders and family toxicity. Kevin didn't say a single word. I sat in the dark for 3 hours after they left. The jasmine smell had turned sour. The next morning, I made ginger tea and tried to think clearly. I'd worked as Thomas's secret CFO for 18 years, from 1985 to 2003, doing the real accounting work while he presented everything to investors. He never credited me publicly. It was the 80s, and a Chinese woman handling finances wouldn't inspire confidence, he'd said. I loved him anyway. But I knew numbers. I knew how to protect myself. When we sold Chen Industries in 2020 for $3 million 6 months before Thomas died, I made sure my share went into a separate LLC, DC Holdings, $2, $3 million that nobody knew about. Not Kevin, not Uncle Raymond, Thomas's older brother who'd worked at the company. Nobody. I'd kept it secret because Thomas had always said, "Dorothy, if people know you have money, they'll find reasons why it should be theirs." He was right. That afternoon, I went to the bank to check our old joint account, the one Thomas and I had used for household expenses. It had about $50,000 in it when he died, enough to cover property taxes, utilities, small emergencies. The account was empty. "Excuse me?" I said to the teller, a young man with kind eyes. "There must be a mistake." He checked again. "Ma'am, according to our records, the account was emptied in 3 transactions over the past 2 months. September 15th, $20,000. October 3rd, $18,000. October 20th, $12,000. Who authorized this?" He turned his screen toward me. "You did, with this power of attorney document." I stared at the signature. It looked like mine, but I'd never signed any power of attorney. "Can I get a copy of this document?" He printed it. I took it home with shaking hands. That evening, I sat at my kitchen table under the yellow light, studying the forged signature. Whoever did this knew my handwriting well enough to fake it convincingly. Someone who'd seen me sign documents dozens of times. Kevin? Amber? I thought about my son, the boy I'd raised alone after Thomas started traveling constantly for business, the boy who used to bring me wildflowers from the park, the teenager who cried in my arms when his father forgot his birthday for the 3rd year in a row. When did he become this stranger who stood silent while his wife humiliated me on camera? I needed help, real help. I called Margaret Foster, the lawyer who'd handled Thomas's estate. She was expensive, $450 an hour, but she was ruthless when she needed to be. "Dorothy," she said when I explained everything, "this is financial elder abuse, and if that signature is forged, it's felony fraud. I can take this case, but I need to warn you. If we pursue this, and Kevin or Amber are responsible, they could face criminal charges." "I understand," I said. "Are you sure? This is your son." I looked at the forged document on my table, at the screenshot I'd taken of Amber's live stream where she called me dead weight. "I'm sure," I said. "Get me the truth." I hung up and sat in the silence of my big, empty house. The jasmine was still blooming outside, sweet and indifferent. And somewhere in the darkness of my bedroom drawer, locked in a small metal box, was the real secret. The bank statements for DC Holdings. The $3 million they didn't know existed. I wasn't helpless. I'd just been invisible. But invisibility, I was starting to realize, could be a weapon. Margaret Foster called me 3 days later. Her voice was tight, professional anger barely contained. "Dorothy, the signature is definitely forged. I had it analyzed by 3 different handwriting experts. The pressure points are wrong. The loop formations are inconsistent. Whoever did this practiced, but not enough." I was sitting in my kitchen, the morning light making the empty fruit bowl look especially lonely. "Can you prove who did it?" "I'm working on it. But Dorothy, there's something else." I pulled Kevin and Amber's financial records, public records, credit reports, court filings. They're not just in debt. They're drowning. $180,000 total. Their rent is $2,400 a month, 3 months overdue. Their 2 cars have monthly payments of $1,800 combined. That's 60% of their income just for transportation. "How is that possible?" I asked, though I already knew. Amber's designer clothes, the expensive brunches she posted on Instagram, the trips to Napa, to Lake Tahoe, always smiling for the camera while the credit card debt piled higher. "They financed a lifestyle they couldn't afford," Margaret said. "And now they're desperate. Dorothy, desperate people do desperate things. I need you to be careful." I hung up and stared at the phone. Kevin was my son. I'd raised him alone, essentially, while Thomas built the company. Those years between 1985 and 2003 were a blur of exhaustion. The memory hit me suddenly, vividly. It was 1994. Kevin was 11. Thomas was in Hong Kong for 3 weeks, meeting with manufacturers. I'd put Kevin to bed at 9 p.m., read him 2 chapters of Harry Potter, kissed his forehead. Then I went downstairs to the dining room table and opened the company ledgers. From 10 p.m. until 2 a.m., I worked. Every night. Balancing accounts, finding discrepancies, tracking payments, managing cash flow. The real work of keeping Chen Industries alive. Thomas was brilliant at sales, at charm, at closing deals. But numbers? He barely understood a balance sheet. I did it all, in secret. Because in 1985, when we started the company, Thomas said investors wouldn't trust a Chinese woman with the money. "Let me be the face," he'd said. "You be the brain. We'll build this together." Except together meant I worked until 2 a.m., slept 4 hours, woke up to make Kevin breakfast, drove him to school, managed the household, then did it all again. For 18 years, no credit, no recognition, no name on the patents, on the contracts, on anything. The dining room table still had a small dent in the wood where I'd pressed too hard with my pen one night. So tired I could barely see straight. I ran my finger over it now. That dent was worth $2, $3 million. Nobody knew it but me. My phone rang. "Kevin." "Mom?" he said. His voice sounded hollow. "Can we come over? We need to talk." "About what?" A pause. "About finding a solution. For everyone." They arrived an hour later. Kevin looked worse than before. Dark circles under his eyes, his skin almost gray. Amber was polished as always, her hair in a perfect blonde wave, her smile sharp. "Dorothy," Amber started, sitting without being invited. "We've been talking to a real estate agent. Your house could sell for $850,000, maybe more. If you moved into a nice senior community, something around $2,000 a month, you'd have plenty left over, and you'd have help, companionship, activities." "I don't want activities," I said. "I want my home." "Mom," Kevin said softly, "please, we're asking for help, real help. We're going to lose everything." I looked at my son, really looked at him, the weight loss, the exhaustion. Something was wrong, something beyond money. "Kevin, are you sick?" He froze. Amber's smile flickered for just a second. "I'm fine," he said too quickly. "Just stressed. You've lost at least 20 pounds since I last saw you." "Mom, stop. We're here to talk about practical solutions. Are you seeing a doctor?" "Dorothy," Amber interrupted sharply, "this isn't about Kevin's health. This is about your house, your stubborn refusal to accept that you're getting older and need to simplify your life. We're trying to help you before you end up alone and unable to manage." "I manage just fine." "Do you?" Amber pulled out her phone. "Because I've been documenting things. Your erratic behavior, your paranoia, the way you accused us of stealing. Someone stole $50,000 from my account with a forged power of attorney." Amber's eyes widened, just slightly. Kevin looked at the floor. "That's absurd," Amber said. "You probably forgot you authorized it. Seniors often—" "I had it analyzed by forensic experts. The signature is fake." The silence that followed was thick, dangerous. "We should go," Kevin said suddenly, standing up. He looked pale, almost nauseous. "Kevin," Amber started. "Now, Amber." They left. I watched through the window as they argued on the sidewalk, Amber's hands gesturing sharply, Kevin shaking his head. That evening, I checked my email. There was a new message sent 2 hours ago from Natalie Brooks, N. Brooks, a Brooks Audit. Com. Subject: Urgent. Chen Industries irregularities. Dear Mrs. Chen, my name is Natalie Brooks. I'm a forensic auditor, and I was hired in 2019 to review Chen Industries' financial records before the sale. I need to speak with you urgently about irregularities I discovered regarding your brother-in-law, Raymond Chen. Specifically, I found evidence of systematic fund diversion totaling approximately $600,000 between 1998 and 2020. The matter was never reported because your husband's death complicated the investigation, but I believe you have a right to know. Please call me at your earliest convenience. This is time-sensitive. Regards, Natalie Brooks, CPA, CFE. I read it 3 times. Raymond, Thomas's older brother, the one who'd worked at Chen Industries from the beginning, who'd retired in 2020 with a generous pension, who'd always acted superior, like Thomas owed him everything. Raymond had stolen $600,000, and Thomas had never known. Or maybe he had, and never told me. I picked up my phone to call Natalie, then stopped. Someone was knocking on my door. Hard, insistent. I looked through the peephole. Amber. Alone this time. I opened the door with the chain still on. "Dorothy," she said, her voice suddenly sweet, pleading. "We need to talk. Really talk. Woman to woman. Can I come in?" "No." "Please. It's about Kevin. He made me promise not to tell you, but he's sick, Dorothy. Really sick. And we can't afford the treatment without selling the house. Please, I'm begging you." Her eyes were wet with tears. Real tears. For a moment, I almost believed her. Then I saw it. The phone in her hand, screen facing me, recording. "Get off my property," I said quietly. "And if you come back, I'm calling the police." I closed the door and locked it. All 3 locks. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Stop asking questions. You don't want to know the answers." I didn't sleep that night. Every sound in the house felt like a threat. The old pipes settling. The wind against the windows. Footsteps that weren't there. By dawn, I'd drunk 4 cups of ginger tea and convinced myself I was losing my mind. That's what they want, I thought. They want you to doubt yourself. At 8 a.m., I called Natalie Brooks. "Mrs. Chen," she answered on the second ring. "Thank you for calling. I know this must be shocking." "Tell me everything," I said. She took a breath. Between 1998 and 2020, Raymond Chen systematically diverted funds from Chen Industries. Small amounts at first, $5,000 here, $8,000 there. By the end, he was taking $40,000 at a time. He used a shell company, falsified invoices, created fake vendor accounts. It was sophisticated. Why didn't my husband know? I think he suspected something near the end, but he died before we could complete the investigation. "Mrs. Chen, there's something else. After Thomas died, Raymond spread rumors in the business community that your husband had been embezzling. He was preemptively protecting himself." My hands went cold. He blamed Thomas? Yes. And because Thomas wasn't alive to defend himself, people believed it. I'm sorry. I thought of the funeral. The way some of Thomas's old colleagues had avoided eye contact with me. The whispers. I'd thought it was just grief, awkwardness around widows. They'd thought my husband was a thief. "Raymond is 70 years old now," Natalie continued. "Retired, living comfortably in Sausalito on stolen money. Mrs. Chen, I can help you recover some of those funds, but it will require legal action. And there's one more thing you should know." "What?" "Raymond's wife contacted me 2 months ago. She said he's been diagnosed with early-stage Alzheimer's. She's worried about what happens when the truth comes out. I think someone close to you might know about this diagnosis. Who? I don't know for certain, but someone's been asking questions about Raymond's finances. Someone who knows the money exists. Amber. It had to be Amber." I thanked Natalie and hung up. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. I walked through my house in a daze, past the living room where Kevin used to build Lego castles, past the kitchen where Thomas and I drank coffee every Sunday morning for 43 years, past the bedroom I now slept in alone. I stopped at Thomas's old office. I hadn't touched it since he died. His desk was still covered with papers, his reading glasses folded on top of a ledger from 2019. I opened the desk drawers methodically, insurance documents, old tax returns, and then in the bottom drawer a small wooden box. Inside were letters. Dozens of them, handwritten, addressed to me but never sent. I picked up the one on top, dated March 2020, 4 months before he died. "My dearest Dorothy, I'm a coward for not giving you these letters. I'm a coward for many things. Raymond has been stealing from the company for years. I've known since 2015 but couldn't prove it without destroying the family. He's my brother. I kept thinking I could fix it quietly, make him pay it back somehow. I was wrong. You were always the strong one, the smart one. I built nothing. You built everything, and I took credit because I was too proud to admit that my wife was smarter than me. If you're reading this, I'm gone. Please, Dorothy, take what's yours. Protect yourself. Don't let them take advantage of you the way I did. I love you. I'm sorry I never said it enough. Thomas. I sat on the floor and cried for the first time since his funeral. Not for the money, for the loneliness, for 43 years of being invisible while everyone else took credit, took money, took everything. For 5 days, I barely left the house. I didn't answer the phone. I didn't check email. I sat in Thomas's office and read every letter he'd never sent me. Apologies, confessions, love notes he was too proud to say out loud. On the 6th day, I forced myself to function. I made tea. I opened my laptop. I checked my bank accounts. And I saw something strange. My PayPal account, which I barely used, showed a payment history I didn't recognize. 73 transactions over the past 8 months. Items sold. Money deposited. I clicked through. The listings were for my things. Vintage jade bracelet. $380 set of 6 Limoges porcelain teacups. $520 first edition Steinbeck novels. $890 gold fountain pen, engraved. $440, 73 items. Total, $12,000. The seller name was Amber Style, SF. I felt something inside me go very cold and very quiet. I called Margaret Foster. "Dorothy," she said. "I've been trying to reach you for days. Are you all right? I need you to do something," I said. My voice didn't sound like mine. It sounded like someone else, someone harder. "I need you to freeze Amber's eBay account and file a police report for theft. I have evidence of 73 stolen items sold online. And I need you to subpoena Kevin and Amber's financial records. All of them. Dorothy, if we do this, I know what happens. Do it anyway." That evening, my phone rang. Kevin. "Mom, we need to talk. In person. Tonight. It's important." Something in his voice made me pause. Not anger, fear. "Come over," I said. He arrived alone 30 minutes later. He'd lost more weight. His hands were shaking. "Mom," he said, standing in my doorway like a stranger, "I need to tell you something, and Amber doesn't know I'm here. I'm sick. I have cancer. Stage 2. Treatable, but I need surgery and chemo. The insurance covers some of it, but not all. We need about $95,000 out of pocket." I stared at my son. "When were you diagnosed?" 4 months ago." 4 months, and you're telling me now? "Amber said we couldn't. She said if you knew, you'd use it to manipulate us, to make us feel guilty for asking about the house. She said we had to wait until after you agreed to sell." The words hung in the air between us. "She hid your cancer diagnosis from me for 4 months, I said slowly, so she could manipulate me into selling my house." Kevin's face crumpled. "Mom, I'm so tired. I'm so tired of lying, of fighting, of pretending everything's fine when I'm dying inside." "You're not dying," I said. "But your marriage is?" He looked up at me with hollow eyes. "What?" "I'm going to help you, Kevin. I'm going to pay for your treatment. Every penny. But Amber doesn't get to know that. Not yet. Do you understand? I don't trust me," I said. "For once in your life, trust your mother." After he left, I sat in the dark and made a list. A very specific list. Margaret Foster's number was first, then Natalie Brooks, then a private investigator Margaret had recommended, and at the bottom of the list, I wrote 3 words: Fairmont Hotel, March 15th. The charity dinner Amber had told me I'd embarrass. The one where she'd be networking with San Francisco's elite, playing philanthropist with money she didn't have. I picked up my phone and called Natalie. "Natalie, it's Dorothy Chen. That charity dinner you're hosting at the Fairmont. The one for fraud prevention research?" "Yes. I'd like to make a donation. A significant one. $500,000. But I have one condition." Margaret Foster didn't waste time. By Monday morning, she'd filed a police report for the eBay thefts and sent a cease and desist letter to Amber, demanding return of all stolen property and $12,000 in restitution. By Monday afternoon, Amber was calling me. 14 times. I didn't answer. On Tuesday, she showed up at my house. I watched through the window as she pounded on the door, her face red, her designer coat flapping in the wind. "Dorothy, open this door. You can't do this to me. Those were gifts. You gave me those things." I turned up the volume on my tea kettle until I couldn't hear her anymore. She finally left after 20 minutes. I watched her get into her leased BMW, $847 a month according to the financial records Margaret had obtained, and speed away. Wednesday morning, Margaret called with an update. The forensic handwriting analysis is complete. The power of attorney was definitely forged, and we have a 94% confidence match that it was Amber. Her handwriting samples from the wedding contract and rental agreements show identical pressure patterns and loop formations. Can we prove she's the one who withdrew the money? The bank has surveillance footage. I'm getting the court order today. Dorothy, there's more. The private investigator found something. Amber's been in contact with a lawyer specializing in elder incompetency cases. She had a consultation 6 weeks ago about having you declared mentally unfit. The words should have shocked me. They didn't. I'd already passed shock. I was somewhere colder now. What else? I asked. The investigator tracked her movements. 2 months ago, she visited Raymond Chen at his home in Sausalito. 3 times. She told his wife she was checking on family. But according to the investigator, she was asking Raymond questions about the company finances, about your inheritance, about his health condition. She knows about the Alzheimer's, I said. Yes. And Dorothy, this is where it gets complicated. The investigator found evidence that Amber was planning to have Raymond declared incompetent so she could access his estate as concerned family. She was going to claim the money he stole was rightfully yours, then position herself as your representative to claim it. I closed my eyes. The plan was brilliant in its cruelty. Frame the old man with dementia, claim moral high ground, steal everything. What's our next move? I asked. We go nuclear, Margaret said. We file criminal charges for theft, fraud, and elder abuse. We sue for damages. We get restraining orders. Dorothy, this will destroy them financially. Are you prepared for that? I thought of Kevin, sick, scared, trapped in a marriage to a woman who'd hidden his cancer diagnosis so she could manipulate his dying mother. Yes, I said. Do it. That afternoon, something unexpected happened. I was scrolling through my phone, something I rarely did, when I saw Amber's Instagram account trending. Not in a good way. She'd gotten into a public fight with another influencer, a woman named Jessica Hartley who had 200,000 followers. The fight was about a gifted handbag. Amber claimed Jessica had stolen her collaboration opportunity with a luxury brand. The comments were vicious. Amber, you're so entitled. Maybe if you didn't scam elderly people, you could afford your own bags? Your mother-in-law was right about you. Someone had leaked the story. About the eBay sales, about the forged power of attorney, about everything. I hadn't done it. Margaret wouldn't have, which meant someone else was watching. Someone who wanted to see Amber burn. Over the next 3 days, I watched her follower count drop. 55,000, then 48,000, then 35,000, then 15,000. Brand deals canceled, sponsorships revoked. Her comment section became a wasteland of people calling her a fraud, a thief, a disgrace. The karma was immediate and brutal. Friday evening, Kevin called. Mom, Amber's falling apart. She's locked herself in the bathroom. She won't eat. She keeps saying everyone's turned against her, that someone's trying to destroy her life. Someone is, I said quietly. She destroyed her own life, Kevin. I'm just making sure everyone sees it. Mom, please. She's talking about hurting herself. Then call 911. I'm not responsible for her mental health. I'm only responsible for protecting myself from her. Silence on the line. Then Kevin's voice, very small. When did you become so cold? When my son stood by while his wife tried to steal everything I had. When he hid his own cancer from me so she could manipulate me. When he chose her over me, every single time, until there was nothing left to choose. I hung up. Saturday morning, Margaret called with news that made my blood sing. We got the bank surveillance footage. It's Amber. Clear as day. 3 separate withdrawals, using the forged power of attorney. The DA's office is reviewing the case for criminal prosecution. Dorothy, she's looking at felony fraud. 2 to 5 years if convicted. And the eBay thefts? Separate charges. Grand theft. Another 18 months to 3 years. Kevin? I asked. No evidence he participated directly. He might be charged as an accessory if we can prove knowledge, But right now, it looks like Amber acted alone. I should have felt relief. I felt nothing. There's one more thing, Margaret said. I spoke with Natalie Brooks about the charity dinner. She's agreed to your condition. You'll be announced as the primary donor, $500,000 to the Fraud Prevention Research Foundation. The announcement will be made at 8 p.m., right before the keynote speech. Amber and Kevin are on the guest list. They won't know you're there until you walk in. Perfect, I said. Sunday, I did something I hadn't done in months. I went shopping. Not at thrift stores or discount outlets. At the boutiques on Union Square where women like Amber pretended to belong. I bought a simple black dress, elegant, expensive, the kind that whispered money instead of screaming it. I bought pearl earrings. I bought shoes that cost more than a month of Amber's rent. When I got home, I looked at myself in the mirror. I looked like someone who'd been invisible for 66 years and had finally decided to be seen. Monday morning, Margaret called with the final piece. Dorothy, I need you to make a decision. The DA wants to move forward with charges against Amber, but they're offering a deal. If she pleads guilty and agrees to full restitution, they'll reduce the sentence to 18 months, eligible for parole in 9. What if she doesn't take it? Then we go to trial. Could be 2 to 5 years, but trials are unpredictable. She might walk. I thought about it. About Amber in prison for 5 years. About Kevin, sick and alone, visiting his wife in a correctional facility. Tell the DA I want to meet with Amber first, I said. Before she takes any deal, I want to look her in the eyes and tell her exactly what she took from me. Dorothy, that's not advisable. I don't care. Set it up. That evening, I sat in my kitchen and did something I'd been avoiding. I opened my laptop and looked at Kevin's medical records, the ones he'd finally sent me, along with a desperate email begging for help. Stage 2 testicular cancer, treatable. Survival rate, 95% with proper treatment. Treatment cost, $140,000 total. Insurance covered $45,000. He needed $95,000. I had $2. $3 million sitting in an account nobody knew existed. I could save him easily. I would save him, but I would make sure he understood exactly what it cost. I pulled up my bank account and initiated a wire transfer, not to Kevin, to the hospital directly, $95,000. Full payment for his treatment, scheduled to begin in 2 weeks. Then I sent Kevin an email. Kevin, your cancer treatment has been paid in full. You start chemotherapy on March 20th. The hospital has all the details. I'm doing this because you're my son, and I love you. But I'm not doing this for Amber, and I'm not doing this because I forgive you. You stood by while she tried to destroy me. You lied to me. You hid your illness to manipulate me. Those are facts. After your treatment is complete, you and I will have a conversation about what kind of relationship we can have going forward. If we can have one at all. Until then, stay away from my house. Mom, I hit send before I could second-guess myself. Wednesday night, 2 days before the charity dinner, I got a call from an unknown number. Mrs. Chen? A woman's voice, shaking. This is Raymond's wife, Susan. Please, you have to stop this. Raymond is sick. He doesn't even remember what he did. If you press charges, it will kill him. Susan, I said gently, I'm not pressing charges against Raymond. I know he has Alzheimer's. I know he's sick. Then why? Because your nephew's wife tried to exploit his illness. She was going to have him declared incompetent so she could steal what he stole from me. I'm protecting Raymond from Amber, not prosecuting him. Silence. Then crying. I didn't know, Susan whispered. I didn't know she was... I know. It's okay. Susan, I'm going to help you. I'm going to pay for Raymond's care. A good facility, the best neurologists. But in exchange, I need you to do something for me. Anything. I need you to come to the Fairmont Hotel this Friday night, 8 p.m., and I need you to be ready to tell the truth. The Fairmont Grand Ballroom looked like something from a movie. Crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, 400 people in evening wear drinking champagne and pretending to care about fraud prevention. I arrived at 7:45 p.m., 15 minutes before the donor announcement. Natalie Brooks met me at a side entrance, away from the main crowd. Dorothy, she said, squeezing my hand. Are you sure about this? I was wearing the black dress, the pearls, the expensive shoes. My hair was done. My makeup was subtle but perfect. I looked like old money, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself. I'm sure, I said. They're here, table 12 near the front. Amber's been working the room for an hour, networking like her life depends on it. It does, I said quietly. Natalie led me to a private room behind the stage. Susan Chen was waiting there, nervous, clutching her purse. Mrs. Chen, she said when she saw me, thank you for helping Raymond. The facility you arranged, it's beautiful. He's comfortable there. He's family, I said. Even after everything, he's still family. Susan, are you ready to tell people what Amber did? She nodded, tears in her eyes. She came to our house 3 times. She told me she was concerned about Raymond, that she wanted to help. But she kept asking about his finances, about his accounts, about whether he had power of attorney documents. The 3rd time, she brought papers for me to sign. She said they were just health proxies, but I showed them to a lawyer friend. They would have given her control of everything. Did you sign them? No. I asked her to leave. She got angry, said I was being difficult, that I'd regret not trusting her. Then she stopped coming. I thought maybe I'd overreacted, but now— You didn't overreact, I said. You saved your husband from being exploited by someone who saw his illness as an opportunity. At 8 p.m., Natalie walked onto the stage. The room quieted. I stood in the wings watching. I could see table 12 from here. Amber in a red dress that probably cost $800 she didn't have. Kevin beside her in a suit that hung loose on his thin frame. They were both smiling, playing the part of the successful young couple. Good evening, everyone, Natalie began. Tonight, we're honored to announce a transformational gift to the Fraud Prevention Research Foundation. A donation of $500,000 from someone who understands personally the devastating impact of financial fraud on families. Amber leaned forward, interested, probably calculating how to network with whoever had that kind of money. This donor wishes to remain anonymous in name only, Natalie continued. But she's here tonight, and she's agreed to say a few words about why this cause matters to her. Please welcome Dorothy Chen. I walked onto the stage. The room erupted in polite applause. But at table 12, Amber's champagne glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor. Kevin's face went white. I took the microphone. My hands were steady. Thank you, Natalie. I'm Dorothy Chen. Many of you don't know me, though some of you knew my late husband, Thomas, who founded Chen Industries. For 18 years, I worked as the company's chief financial officer, unofficially. My husband took the credit. I took the late nights, the stress, the invisible labor, some uncomfortable shifting in the audience. This wasn't the usual feel-good donor speech. When we sold the company in 2020, I made sure my contribution was recognized financially, if not publicly. I put $2, $3 million into a private account. I told no one. Not my son. Not my family. No one. Amber was staring at me like I was a ghost. Kevin had his head in his hands. 3 months ago, I discovered that someone had forged a power of attorney in my name and stolen $50,000 from my household account. Then I discovered that my belongings, jewelry, books, family heirlooms, had been sold online without my knowledge. 73 items. $12,000 total. The room was completely silent now. The person who did this is my daughter-in-law. She's here tonight. Table 12. 400 heads turned. Amber stood up, her face red. This is insane. You're having some kind of episode. I have bank surveillance footage, I said calmly. I have forensic handwriting analysis. I have eBay transaction records with your account name. I have everything, Amber. Kevin grabbed Amber's arm, trying to pull her back down. She jerked away from him. But that's not the worst part, I continued. 4 months ago, my son was diagnosed with cancer. Stage 2, treatable, survivable. His wife decided not to tell me. She hid his diagnosis because she wanted to use it as leverage to force me to sell my house. She let me believe my son was healthy, while she planned to manipulate me with his illness at the right moment. Kevin stood up now, swaying. Mom, Sit down, Kevin, I said, not unkindly, but firmly. I'm not finished. I turned back to the audience. There's more. My brother-in-law, Raymond Chen, is 70 years old. He has early-stage Alzheimer's. He also embezzled $600,000 from my husband's company over 20 years. I only discovered this after my husband died. I gestured to Susan, who walked onto the stage, trembling. This is Susan Chen, Raymond's wife. Susan, tell them what Amber did. Susan's voice shook, but she spoke clearly. Amber came to my house 3 times. She asked questions about Raymond's finances, about his mental state. Then she brought legal documents that would have given her control of his assets. She told me it was for his own good, that he needed protection. But when I showed the papers to a lawyer, I learned they would have made her his legal guardian. She was going to declare my husband incompetent so she could steal what he'd already stolen. The room erupted, voices overlapping, gasps. Someone said, "Oh my God." Amber was backing toward the exit. "You can't prove any of this." "I can," I said, "and I have. The district attorney has reviewed all the evidence. There are police officers waiting outside this ballroom right now." Kevin suddenly stood up, stumbled, and vomited into the $5,000 floral centerpiece. The sound was horrible in the shocked silence. He looked up at me, his face green, tears streaming. "Mom," he whispered. "Mom, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know about Raymond. I didn't know she was—" "You knew enough," I said quietly. "You knew she forged documents. You knew she was selling my things. You knew she hid your cancer from me. You knew, Kevin. Maybe you didn't know everything, but you knew enough to stop her, and you didn't." Amber made a run for it. She almost made it to the door before 2 police officers stepped inside. "Amber Chen," one of them said, "you're under arrest for felony fraud, grand theft, and attempted elder abuse." She screamed, actually screamed like a child throwing a tantrum. "This is entrapment! You can't!" They read her rights while she struggled. The handcuffs clicked shut. 400 people watched in stunned silence as she was escorted out, still screaming about lawsuits, about her rights, about how I'd pay for this. Kevin collapsed back into his chair, sobbing. I walked off the stage and straight to him. I knelt down beside his chair, my expensive dress pooling on the floor. "Kevin," I said softly, "look at me." He did. His eyes were red, destroyed. "Your treatment starts in 5 days," I said. "I've paid for everything. You're going to live. You're going to beat this cancer. But after that, you and I are going to have a very long conversation about who you want to be. The man who stood by while his wife tried to destroy his mother, or the man I raised. The choice is yours." "I'm sorry," he choked out. "Mom, I'm so sorry." "I know," I said, "but sorry isn't enough yet. It's a start, but it's not enough." I stood up and walked back to Natalie, who was staring at me with something between horror and admiration. "Well," she said, "that was the most memorable donor speech in Foundation history." "Good," I said. "Now people will remember why fraud prevention matters. Because it's not about money. It's about families destroying each other over it." I left through the side door. Behind me, I could hear the ballroom erupting into chaos. 400 voices all talking at once. I got into my car, drove home, and made myself a cup of ginger tea. Then I sat in my kitchen and cried for 2 hours straight. Not for Amber. Not even for Kevin. For the life I'd thought I had. The family I'd thought I had. The safety I'd thought existed. All of it, gone. 3 months later, I sat in a courtroom and watched Amber Chen be sentenced to 18 months in prison. She'd taken the plea deal, guilty to felony fraud, grand theft, and attempted exploitation of a vulnerable adult. 18 months eligible for parole in 9. Restitution of $67,000, which she'd never be able to pay. She didn't look at me during sentencing. Her lawyer had advised her not to. Kevin wasn't there. He was at his 3rd chemotherapy session. The judge, a woman in her 60s with steel gray hair, looked at Amber with the kind of disappointment that cuts deeper than anger. "Ms. Chen," she said, "you targeted a 66-year-old widow who trusted you as family. You forged legal documents. You stole irreplaceable family heirlooms. You attempted to exploit an elderly man with dementia. And perhaps most cruel of all, You hid your own husband's cancer diagnosis to use it as a manipulation tool against his mother. Amber's lawyer tried to interject. The judge held up her hand. I've read the victim impact statement from Mrs. Dorothy Chen. I've rarely seen such a clear case of calculated, cold-blooded financial abuse. 18 months is lenient, in my opinion. I hope you use that time to reflect on who you've become. The gavel came down. Amber was led away in handcuffs. She looked small suddenly, diminished. Nothing like the confident influencer who'd called me dead weight 3 months ago. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no victory. Just tired. Outside the courthouse, Margaret Foster put her hand on my shoulder. How are you holding up? I don't know yet, I said honestly. Kevin texted me that evening. Mom, I heard about the sentencing. Can I see you? I stared at the message for 10 minutes before responding. Tomorrow, 2 p.m., my house. He arrived exactly on time, which was new. Kevin had never been punctual in his life. He'd lost more weight. The chemotherapy was brutal. His skin had a grayish pallor, and he was wearing a knit cap to cover his hair loss. But his eyes were different, clearer, more present than I'd seen them in years. Mom, he said at the door, thank you for seeing me. I let him in, made him ginger tea, the way I'd done when he was a child with a stomachache. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where I'd discovered the forged documents 3 months ago. How's treatment? I asked. Hard, really hard, but the doctors say the tumors are shrinking. They're optimistic. He wrapped his hands around the mug. Mom, I need to tell you something, and I need you to let me finish before you say anything. I nodded. I knew, he said. Not everything, but I knew enough. I knew Amber was taking your things and selling them because I saw her photograph your jewelry box. I knew she was obsessed with your money because she talked about it constantly. How unfair it was that you had a house and savings while we were drowning. I knew she forged something because I saw her practicing your signature on a notepad. His voice cracked, and I didn't stop her. I told myself it was just small things, that you wouldn't miss them, that we needed the money more than you did. I told myself you'd want to help us if you knew how bad things were. I told myself so many lies, Mom. Tears were running down his face now. When she hid my cancer from you, I should have told you immediately. But I was scared. Scared of dying. Scared of being alone. Scared that if I stood up to her, I'd lose everything. So I let her use my illness as a weapon against you. I let her turn my cancer into a manipulation tool. He looked up at me. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I don't deserve that. I'm just asking you to know that I see it now. I see what I did, what I didn't do, and I hate myself for it. I took a sip of my tea. Let the silence sit between us. Kevin, I said finally, I paid for your treatment because you're my son, and I love you. That hasn't changed. But love and trust are different things. I love you. I don't trust you. Not yet. I know. You're 40 years old. You're not a child who was manipulated by a bad spouse. You're a grown man who made choices, bad choices, cowardly choices. You chose comfort over integrity. You chose Amber over me, over and over, until there was nothing left to choose. He nodded, crying harder now. But, I continued, you're also my son who's fighting cancer, who's finally telling the truth, who showed up today knowing I might turn you away. That counts for something. Not enough yet, but something. What do I need to do? He asked. To earn your trust back? Time, I said. And consistency. And therapy. Lots of therapy. You need to understand why you let yourself become someone who'd stand by while his wife tried to destroy his mother. Until you understand that, we can't move forward. I'll do it, he said immediately. Whatever it takes. I hope so, I said, because I miss my son. But I don't know if he still exists, or if Amber destroyed him completely. We sat in silence for a while. Then Kevin spoke again, his voice small. Mom, can I ask you something? Why didn't you tell me about the $3 million? All those years, why did you keep it secret? I looked at him, really looked at him. Because your father taught me that when people know you have money, they stop seeing you as a person. They see you as a solution to their problems, a bank, an inheritance, an opportunity. And he was right. Would you? I interrupted. Would you have seen me the same way? Or would you have seen dollar signs? Would Amber have married you if she'd known I had millions? Would she have treated me with respect? Or would she have just been nicer while planning the same thing? He couldn't answer. We both knew the truth. Kevin left an hour later. Before he walked out, he hugged me. A real hug. Tight and desperate. The way he used to hug me when he was small and scared of thunderstorms. "I love you, Mom," he whispered. "I know, Kevin," I said. "I know you do." But I didn't say it back. Not yet. After he left, I sat in my living room and looked around. The house felt different now. Lighter. Like something heavy had been lifted. I'd sold it 2 weeks ago. Got $870,000. More than expected. The new owners were a young family with 3 kids who loved the Jasmine Garden. My new place was a 2-bedroom condo in No Valley. Smaller. Modern. No memories of Thomas, of Kevin's childhood, of 43 years of invisible labor. Just mine. I'd donated $300,000 to Alzheimer's research in Raymond's name. The irony wasn't lost on me, using his stolen money to help people with his disease. But it felt right. I'd kept $1.5 million invested conservatively, enough to live comfortably for the rest of my life, and then some. And for the first time in 66 years, I'd started taking art classes. Oil painting. I was terrible at it, but it didn't matter. Nobody was grading me. Nobody was judging. I was just doing something for myself. Yesterday, Kevin had texted me a photo. Him, bald from chemo, giving a thumbs up in the hospital. The caption, "Scan came back clear. Tumors are gone. Last treatment next week." I'd responded, "I'm proud of you. Keep fighting." He'd sent back, "I love you, Mom." This time I'd written, "I know. We'll talk after treatment is done." Not, "I love you too." Not yet. Maybe not ever, but maybe. That's the thing about forgiveness. It's not a switch you flip. It's not a single moment of grace. It's a series of small decisions, made over months and years, to keep the door open even when you want to slam it shut. Kevin calls me every week now, tells me about treatment, about his new therapist, about the divorce proceedings. He's moved into a studio apartment in the Tenderloin, works part-time at a bookstore, lives simply. He's rebuilding himself from nothing. Whether he becomes someone I can trust again, that's still an open question. Last week, he asked if he could come to my art class, watch me paint. I said yes. He sat in the back of the studio for 2 hours. Quiet. Respectful. Afterward, he said, "You're really good, Mom." I laughed. "I'm really not." "You're doing something you love," he said. "That makes you good at it." It was the wisest thing I'd heard him say in years. This morning, I got a letter from Amber in prison. I haven't opened it yet. It's sitting on my kitchen counter next to my coffee. I don't know if I'll read it. I don't know if anything she has to say matters anymore. What I do know is this. I spent 43 years being invisible, being the brain while men took credit, being the money while people took advantage, being the mother while my son chose someone else. I'm not invisible anymore. I'm Dorothy Chen. I'm 66 years old. I have $1, $5 million in the bank, a condo with a view, and a son who might, maybe, become someone worth knowing again. And that's enough. For now, it's enough. 1 year after the Fairmont Hotel, I received a call that changed everything again. It was Kevin. His voice was different, stronger, steadier than I'd heard in years. "Mom, I need to show you something. Can you meet me at the old house?" The Victorian in Pacific Heights had been sold for 11 months. The new family had painted it sage green, added a swing set in the backyard. I hadn't been back since moving day. "Why there?" I asked. "Just trust me. Please." I almost said no. Trust was still a fragile thing between us, but something in his voice made me say yes. I arrived at 3 p.m. on a Saturday. Kevin was waiting on the sidewalk, holding a shoebox. He looked completely different, healthy. His hair had grown back, darker than before. He'd gained weight, the good kind. His eyes were clear. "You look good," I said carefully. "I feel good. 2 months cancer-free. Doctor says my prognosis is excellent." He smiled, but it was tentative. "Mom, I need to give you this." He handed me the shoebox. Inside were envelopes, dozens of them, addressed to me, stamped but never mailed. "What is this?" "Letters," he said. I wrote you one every week for the past year. My therapist suggested it, writing down what I wanted to say but wasn't ready to say yet. Some of them are apologies, some are memories, some are just me trying to figure out who I am without Amber, without the lies. I pulled out the top envelope, opened it. Dear Mom, week 23. Today in therapy I realized something. I spent 20 years being angry at Dad for choosing work over us, for missing my games, my graduation, my wedding, for being invisible when I needed him. But I did the exact same thing to you. I chose Amber over you. I chose money over integrity. I chose comfort over truth. I became exactly what I hated about him. I don't know if you can forgive that. I don't know if I can forgive myself, but I'm trying. I'm trying to become someone worthy of being your son again. Love, Kevin. My hands were shaking. I looked up at him. Why didn't you mail these? Because I needed to be ready for whatever your answer was. If you read them and decided you were done with me, really done, I needed to be strong enough to accept that. He took a breath. Mom, I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm asking you to let me prove I've changed, however long it takes. I looked at the house behind him, the sage green paint, the swing set, a child's bicycle on the porch. I come here sometimes, Kevin said quietly, just to remember. The good parts. You reading Harry Potter to me, the jasmine in spring, the way you'd make ginger tea when I was sick. I took all of that for granted. I let Amber make me think you were the problem, when really I was just too weak to stand up for what was right. Kevin, let me finish, please. His voice cracked. A year ago, you told me sorry wasn't enough. You were right, so I've spent this year trying to be enough. I got a real job, assistant manager at the bookstore now. I'm paying my own rent, my own bills. I'm in therapy twice a week. I volunteer at an elder advocacy center, helping seniors recognize financial abuse. He pulled out his phone, showed me a photo, him with a group of elderly people, all smiling, holding certificates. I teach classes on protecting yourself from family fraud. I tell them my story, how I let my wife steal from my mother, how I was complicit through silence. I tell them so maybe they won't be. I stared at the photo, at my son, transformed. I'm not the man I was a year ago, Mom, and I'll never be that man again. But I understand if it's too late, if I destroyed something that can't be rebuilt. I looked down at the shoebox. 52 letters, one for every week. 52 attempts to reach me, even when I'd told him I needed space. Did you read Dad's letters? I asked suddenly. The ones he wrote but never sent? Kevin nodded. You let me read them after the sentencing. They broke my heart. All that regret. All that love he couldn't say out loud. Mom, I don't want to be him. I don't want to die with words left unsaid. Then say them now, I said. Everything. No more waiting. He looked at me, tears streaming. I love you. I'm sorry. I was wrong. You deserved better from me, and I failed you in every possible way. You're the strongest person I know, and I spent years treating you like you were weak, like you were the burden, when really I was. Keep going, I said. I'm proud of you, for standing up to Amber, for protecting yourself, for not letting me manipulate you with my cancer, for being brave enough to walk into that hotel and tell the truth in front of 400 people. You're my hero, Mom. You always have been. I set the shoebox down on the sidewalk, stepped forward, put my arms around my son. He collapsed into me, sobbing like a child, like the little boy who used to bring me wildflowers, like the teenager who cried on my shoulder when his father forgot his birthday. I love you too, I whispered. I never stopped, even when I didn't trust you, even when I was so angry I couldn't see straight. I never stopped loving you. We stood there on the sidewalk for 10 minutes, holding each other while strangers walked past and the new family's children played in what used to be our garden. Finally, I pulled back, looked at him. Kevin, I'm going to tell you something, and I need you to really hear it. Okay. Forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's not erasing what happened. You hurt me. Deeply. You chose Amber over me for years, and that pain doesn't just disappear because you've changed. His face fell. I know. But, I continued, forgiveness is also not holding the past over you forever. It's choosing to believe that people can grow, That mistakes don't have to define us. That my son, the real one, the one I raised, is still in there somewhere. He is, Kevin said fiercely. I promise you, Mom, he is. Then prove it. Not with words. With time, with consistency, with showing up every day and being the man you say you want to be. I will, however long it takes. I picked up the shoebox. I'm going to read these, all of them, and then we're going to have dinner, once a week. Just us. No talk of money, no talk of Amber, no talk of the past. Just us, rebuilding. His face transformed. Really? Really. But Kevin, if you ever lie to me again, if you ever choose someone else over your integrity, over truth, over family, we're done. Permanently. Do you understand? I understand. Good. I smiled at him. Actually smiled for the first time in a year. Now tell me about this bookstore job. Are you getting an employee discount? Because I'm taking art classes and I need books on oil painting techniques. He laughed. It was a beautiful sound. We walked to a cafe 3 blocks away, sat outside in the October sunshine, ordered tea and pastries, talked about small things, his co-workers, my painting class, the best walking routes in No Valley. For the first time in years, it felt easy, light, like maybe we could find our way back to each other after all. That evening, I went home and read all 52 letters. Some made me cry. Some made me angry all over again. Some made me proud of the man he was becoming. The last letter, written just 3 days ago, was the shortest. Dear Mom, week 52. 1 year of letters. 1 year of therapy. 1 year of learning to be honest, first with myself, then with the world. I don't know if you'll ever fully forgive me. But I forgive you for being human, for not being perfect, for doing your best in an impossible situation. And I forgive myself for being weak. Not because weakness is okay, but because holding on to shame forever doesn't help anyone. Tomorrow I'm going to ask if we can have dinner. If you say no, I'll understand. But I hope you say yes, because I miss my mom. And I think maybe, just maybe, she might miss me too. Love always, Kevin. I folded the letter carefully, put it back in the box with the others, placed the box on my bookshelf, next to Thomas's letters. 2 generations of men who loved me but didn't know how to show it until it was almost too late. The difference was, Kevin still had time. We both did. 3 months later, I attended Kevin's 1-year work anniversary party at the bookstore. He'd been promoted to manager. His coworkers loved him. He'd even started mentoring a teenager from a troubled home, teaching him about inventory management and responsibility. I watched him laugh with his colleagues, confident and whole, and barely recognized the broken man from the Fairmont Hotel. That night, as we walked to our cars, he said, "Mom, I have something to tell you. I've been seeing someone. Her name is Claire. She's a teacher. I've been taking it slow, but it's getting serious, and I wanted you to know before you introduce us?" I asked. "Yeah, if that's okay." "It's okay, but Kevin, I need to meet her, really meet her. Know who she is, what she values, whether she treats you with respect." "She does," he said quickly. "She's nothing like Amber. Nothing." "Good. Then I'd like to meet her." 2 weeks later, I had dinner with Kevin and Claire. She was 38, kind, funny, and refreshingly normal. She taught 5th grade. She'd been married before, divorced amicably. She asked me thoughtful questions and didn't once mention money. When Kevin went to the bathroom, she leaned toward me. "Mrs. Chen, Kevin told me everything. What happened with Amber, what he did, how he hurt you. I want you to know. I see who he is now, and I think he's someone worth knowing." "So do I," I said. "But I'm watching. If he ever treats you the way he enabled Amber to treat me, you'll destroy him," she said with a small smile. "He told me that too." "Good. He should be held accountable." I liked her immediately. Now, as I sit here writing this final chapter, it's been 18 months since the Fairmont Hotel. Amber gets out of prison in 3 months. I've had no contact with her, and I don't plan to. Raymond passed away peacefully 2 months ago. Susan thanked me for paying for his care until the end. At the funeral, she told me, "You gave him dignity when he didn't deserve it." Kevin and Claire are engaged. The wedding is small, simple, nothing like the $65,000 disaster with Amber. I'm helping with the planning, not the money, the planning. He insisted on paying for everything himself. I'm still painting, still terrible at it, still happy. And sometimes, late at night, I think about the woman I was 2 years ago, invisible, taken for granted, convinced that love meant sacrifice without boundaries. That woman is gone. In her place is someone who knows her worth, who sets boundaries, who loves fiercely but wisely. Someone who learned that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing growth over grudges. My son isn't perfect, neither am I, but we're trying, together, and that's enough.